So let's remember, this is what's going on in the 17 and 1800s. This is where people were living. And then we go to this church's narrative. And after everything that we have seen, this should open some eyes. When the first church is believed to have been underneath the present cathedral. But we are, of course, not told, where we know here and have shown many times, what is underneath most of these old churches. Again, we are told multiple churches on the same site, which is another repeating narrative. Now, this narrative is taking us back to the year 395. 395 on the dot, where they built a large basilica. And it was, of course, supposedly built on the same exact site, where they waited 360 years to do anything. And then in the year 755, they construct several courtyards and buildings around the church, including a palace for the archbishop. All in the year 755. They were just busy constructing palaces. This is what we are told. And then they give us this ridiculous story that Vikings raided the place and damaged the cathedral, where this was documented in the Donkeys Inc. archives, a weekly magazine written by Feather Under Moonlight, just running around chasing that local duck to get his feathers, just so they could write it all down. This information that we read today, about the year 395, exactly 1,500 years before the power tool. This story is nonsense, telling us that they enlarged the cathedral in the year 650. They got a special guest in 769 with poetry night on Tuesdays. Now, a much more realistic narrative is that there was a previous civilization here, humans, that held incredible technology, everything that we have today, and so much more. A civilization that was constructing massive tunnel systems, going down 18 levels under our feet, and most likely more. A civilization that created palaces, matching their level of knowledge. The way that the mainstream narrative brushes things off without any evidence is ridiculous at this point. Acting like we should just believe that 200 years ago, people were primitive, riding around by donkey, dirt roads everywhere, presidents born in shacks with porta potties outside. And then 2,000 years ago, they just construct palaces that last forever. And we haven't even gotten to the best part. In 1822, right when we were all here to see, lightning started a fire that destroyed the spire of the central tower. The exact same spire that we just showed that was just randomly burning down. And nobody knows how it started. And in 1905, a new law made the cathedral property of the French government. It's very interesting. When it was bombed like 30 years later, twice, by Allied bombs. And then they tried to destroy it again 5 years later, when it was bombed 7 more times by the British. And then the USA just needed to get involved, of course. The US Army Air Force set fire to the tower. The bells melted. Very interesting. If you'd like me to cover the old world bells in the future, let me know. So this place is just fine until our civilization starts back up. And they start going up there and melting bells and bombing the old world's work over and over. And then, of course, we know what they found underneath the church. When in 1985, excavations were carried out beneath the church and its surroundings. How incredible is it to know what these sentences really mean? Before this research, we would have looked at that sentence and been very confused, thinking it was maybe a one-off. But now we know that they did this all over the world, finding things, tunnels, structures, and catacombs, where it goes on to say that they uncovered vestiges of the earlier buildings and foundations of another cathedral. And we all know that they found so much more, possibly networks of tunnels, multiple floors, connecting all of the old world buildings in the area, and maybe even more. Underground living spaces, underground structures, catacombs, technology, gold, and so much more. And then, of course, we have the fire right here from July 11th, 2024. Attacks, in my opinion, of the old world's work. Structures and buildings Sites that were meant for us, in my opinion. Places that were given to us that have since been taken over and destroyed by a group that seems to want to hide the past from us. A group that seems like they're on a strange mission that is fully focused on them gaining more and more control while giving us less and less. Who knows if that's true, but it sure looks like it is, if I'm being honest. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it feels like the movie The Lion King, where everything was great where they lived, with Mufasa in charge. The grass was green, they had peace, and then Scar took over, and the place just goes down the drain. A little season. Is this what the movie The Lion King is really telling us? Who knows? But after everything that we know, it doesn't seem too far off. And now they have our little doorway cut into the doors. Doors are constructed proportionate to the size of the individual using it. And I want to show you the inside of this place. The ceiling is incredible. Remember, there's never a mistake in the 795s.